Good morning, everyone. My name is Scott Butler. I'm the Manager of Policy and Research here at the Ontario Good Roads Association, and will be for the next couple of weeks before I become the Executive Director. So it is my distinct pleasure to welcome here a panel today looking at the issue of how technology, and more specifically AI and smart city initiatives, can complement the transportation sector, and specifically the maintenance of transportation networks. We're fortunate to be joined by a panel of folks who've given a lot of time, a lot of attention and energy to this issue. And the way this is going to work is that we will run through the series of presentations. The presentations are grounded in both, I think, cutting edge research as well as practical application taking place here in Ontario currently. And there's going to be a lot of questions generated by this. So we would ask you to pose your questions either in the chat module that you see in the little pop-up window that's popped up there, or in the actual Q&A module that you also see available to you. So this is the latest, and I keep saying it's the last in the webinar series that we've been running since the onset of COVID has begun. Staff keep implicating me into more and more of these, so I'm going to give up saying that this is the last one, and I'm going to say the latest one. Our panel today includes the following individuals. Roy Tal is the Chief Technology Officer at Visual Defense. Meeta Gandhi is the Director of Strategy, Innovation and Engagement at the City of Richmond Hill. Dan Ruby is Sector Manager in the Automotive and Mobility Innovation at the Ontario Centres of Excellence. And finally, Alice Lamb is the Senior Manager of Roads, Survey and Utility Operations for the City of Markham. So as I said, we'll run through presentations. There'll be opportunities for those of you listening to interact with the panel, pose your questions. We'll do our absolute best to get through as many of these questions as we possibly can. And once we've done that, we'll send everyone on their way, hopefully to enjoy well, I was going to say sunny, but looking at the window here, it's getting less so by the moment. So to let everybody on their way and get to lunch. So without any further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Roy Tal from Visual Defense to run us through the high-level overview of what we're talking about. And specifically, we're looking at the ROVER initiative that has come about recently as a product that is, I think, poised to provide some real tangible benefits to the municipal realm. Roy, the virtual floor is yours.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you, Scott, for the introduction, and thanks to the Ontario Good Roads Association for having us here. I think that you guys have been on the forefront of autonomous and connected vehicles here in Ontario, whether through the autonomous corridor that you set up from Windsor to Ottawa, to some of the connected and autonomous vehicle webinars that you've done. So we're very excited to be here. And I'm very happy to be here also with Dan Ruby from the Ontario Centres of Excellence, Meeta Gandhi from the City of Richmond Hill, and Alice Lamb from the City of Markham. And what we have here is we have really an exciting collaboration. And when we have the title Innovation Through Collaboration, it's not just a catchy title. If it wasn't for everybody that's here today, ROVER and our exciting AI technology would not be where it's at. So it just very nice how everything connected together for this. And when we started getting into the area of artificial intelligence, we basically thought, okay, we're coming from a security and video surveillance background. A good application for this, for example, would be in road operations to identify road defects like potholes. We were aware of the Autonomous Vehicle Innovation Network, which is an Ontario grant that promotes such technologies, and that's administered by Ontario's Centres of Excellence. But we needed a municipal partner, really, because I think one of the exciting things about this program is that it pushes for collaboration, and they don't like to see things develop in a bubble on their own. They like to see real practical use cases of it. So we reached out to City of Richmond Hill to Meeta's team, and they've been nothing but supportive and helpful in connecting us to the road operations team. And again, we met people there who are very excited about technology and about improving things. So we put together a proposal for ROVER, which is short for Road Operated Video Extended Recognition. Very long name, but it is kind of describing what it's doing. And our application was approved, and that the fact that it was approved meant that we also got some funding through the program to develop it. And the Ontario Centers of Excellence have also introduced us to the Ontario Good Roads Association at the time. So that was additional value and benefit that they've provided. And having met with Ontario Good Roads Association to learn about the Municipal Alliance for Connected and Autonomous Vehicles in Ontario, which is another initiative that you guys have put together. We came and we learned about the initiative, about McCargo. We presented ROVER and how we thought it ties into it. And we got great feedback from your organization as well, Scott, which was that even though we have one minimum maintenance standards, there's a lot of different municipalities with different resources, with different roads, with different technologies that are in place. And in order to really develop an innovative technology, it's good to work with as many municipalities as possible. So we've reached out again to Mita's team, and we wanted to set up the ROVER work group, which is a collaborative initiative that we set up with Canadian municipalities across Canada to learn about how to use exciting technologies like ROVER to improve the road operations and to use them for betterment. And for us, it's more feedback and way to more rapidly develop the technology. And the City of Richmond Hill has been absolutely fabulous in agreeing to participate in this collaboration. And more than that, they've even introduced us to our second ROVER workgroup participant, which was the City of Markham and Alice's team. And again, Markham is a very pro-technology municipality as well, and we have had great feedback in collaboration with them as well. And that also resulted in a wonderful CBC news article that they've had recently. So just how we got into it, because we're in the area of video surveillance, we sometimes record thousands of cameras. That if you record 1,000 cameras for 1 hour, it's 40 days worth of video you have to look through. So you need to be able to find inside all of this footage things that you're interested in, and the way that you do it is through artificial intelligence and machine learning. And machine learning is pretty much like a technology that just allows you to kind of know things. So for example, you have a pen and you look at it and you just know it's a pen, right? And the reason that your brain knows that it's a pen is just because you have neurons in your brain triggering, and you don't need to actually calculate the length and the ratios and all these things. You look at it and you say pen. And machine learning kind of takes the same process. It just has a trained network that kind of has certain paths shoot when it recognizes a certain image, and it gives you a label of an object, which is, for example, a pen. And you train it kind of like how you teach small children or babies, for that matter. I have a baby at home, so I'm doing this a lot, and you're just showing it. You're saying this is a pen, and this is a pen, and this is a pen. And when you're giving a baby, or in our case, is an artificial intelligence network baby, examples, over time it's learning from it, and when you show it a pen that it hasn't seen before, it will say pen, and you'll say yes, this is correct. So there's also the process of positive reinforcement as well. And of course, if they get it wrong, you show them a marker, they say pen, you say no, it's incorrect. So same as pens, you can teach it pretty much to find anything that the human eyes can see. So you could teach it for road operations application to look for potholes, cracks, manholes, and any other things that are of interest. And the way that we see this, we're probably, if you've seen some of our social media activity, we are really much known for the potholes AI, but we are going to add a lot more to this. And the future that I'm seeing with this is not just potholes. I'm seeing smart fleets, connected fleets that are equipped with artificially enabled devices that are basically going around and sharing data between them. They, for example, I'm seeing a bylaws enforcement vehicle going to around the city, looking at the grass if it's too tall, looking at vehicles that are parked inappropriately in the wrong place, and they're looking to give citations. And you have a ROVER device in the same vehicle, for example, finding potholes. So now the city knows about the potholes, and they can send a road maintenance crew to in a vehicle again to repair it. And on the way there, that second ROVER device in the maintenance vehicle can pick up on a raised manhole. And let's say it's winter, because that's when potholes are, and you know that you have a raised manhole, that is a risk for the snowplows. It can damage them. So now you can issue a warning to the snowplows in the area if there's winter events that there's a raised manhole there, or you can try to close this incident and repair it. And then the snowplows can also have a rover device, which can have on it, again, the ability to detect uh, like a car that's covered in snow, for example, and then that information can go to the bylaw enforcement to provide a citation because it shouldn't be parked on the street during a winter event. So you can kind of see how all of these different vehicles are sharing data between them. And it's really easy. It's basically a smart camera that's deployed in all these vehicles. And for example, if you have a fleet of 20 vehicles and you're putting 20 of these devices in, the best way to think about the value of this, it's like you're having an extra person in 20 vehicles that's looking for extra 20 things for all the different departments. So suddenly you have all this wealth of knowledge and data that you're collecting about your city, whether it's where the cracks are, where the road damage is, where you have signage issues. And it just allows you to plan better, right? Because when you know where the issues, and each municipality can use this data in a different way. If you don't have the money to address all these issues, it gives you the opportunity to come up and ask for the budgets to resolve this. Or it allows you to do a risk-based approach where you pick the most important and urgent incidents and you take care of those first. If you do have this, it allows you to basically manage and benchmark your service levels in regards to all of these different things. It allows you to pool resources. And when we're thinking about data sharing, it doesn't just have to be data sharing between different departments within the same municipality. It can also be data sharing between different municipalities. So we have local governments and regional governments that are sharing the same roads and they can share data between them. We have neighboring municipalities that take care of some shared roads, and again, you can share the data there as well. We have fleets of public transit, contractors and waste management providers that can also share data. And the idea is that the future that I'm seeing is that all these fleets are working together, and based on who's the owner of the assets that you're identifying the issues with, you can share this data and get more. And this is where I'm seeing a lot of collaboration. It's not just in the development of ROVER, but also in the use cases for the future where these smart fleets are working together. And what I'm the most excited about is I think that this is not something that we're looking 25 years down the road. I think that within 5 years, some of the participants, even in this webinar, in their municipalities, they could be having smart fleets like this that are providing data. So, and that's just a very high level overview. If there's any more information that somebody wants about ROVER, you can ask here, or you can visit our website and contact us for there. So what I really want to hear though is also about everybody else's and the program that helped to make it happen, and the two great municipalities that we've been working with. So I'll pass it back to you, Scott, and I really look forward to hearing what you have to say.
Great. So Roy's given us a high-level overview, and I have to commend you if you're able to remember what McCargo stands for, and you have an infant at home. Clearly, you're made of better gray matter than I am, because I can't remember at the best of times. It's been an ongoing source of tension between Fahad and myself around what that acronym actually means. I wanted to just move over to Dan. Dan's with the Ontario Centres of Excellence, and they take, I think, a high level overview of how technology is influencing society here in Ontario. Dan has some slides that he's going to walk us through. So Dan, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Scott. Hopefully everybody can see my screen.
We can.
Great. I'll start off by thanking you, Scott and Fahad from OGRA, for inviting me into the session today, and also Roy, thank you for thinking of us and inviting us into this session. I wanted to just spend a few minutes giving a brief high-level overview of the AVIN program at OCE. AVIN stands for the Autonomous Vehicle Innovation Network, and it's a bit of a misnomer, really. When you hear AVIN, you think that the funding is all about autonomous vehicles. Really, it's about smart mobility. So it's much broader than the name implies. In terms of the AVIN program, really, it's meant to leverage two of Ontario's greatest strengths. So we are the second largest automotive sector in North America. We also are the second largest IT sector in North America. And so it's meant to really leverage our strength in those two sectors, bringing them together and aiming to become a global leader in this coming connected and autonomous mobility space. So from a scope perspective, AVIN is funding at a macro level and it's funding at a micro level. At a macro level, we're bringing together Ontario's communities. We are funding what we call regional technology development sites from Windsor to Ottawa, and each of those sites have specific areas of expertise. And the idea is that a technology company can leverage one or all of those sites. And the idea is having them all work together so that, again, we're putting Ontario forward as a leader in this space. At a micro level, the scope of AVIN is really anything to do with the movement of people or goods on roadways and railways. And again, don't just think autonomous. So we're talking about transportation systems. We're talking about infrastructure. Anything to do with mass light vehicles, heavy duty vehicles, as I mentioned, transportation infrastructure, intelligent transportation systems, transit supported systems and vehicles. So we're funding projects that are about traffic management, road monitoring, sensors on traffic lights, even Uber type apps for ride sharing. They're all a fit under the AVIN scope. In terms of societal goals for AVIN, really there are two. It's about increased road safety and reduced traffic congestion. So as I mentioned, better road condition monitoring, better collection and analysis of transportation information, reduction of driver distraction, and really all leading to quality of life improvement, and hopefully also smaller environmental and carbon footprint. I'm going to talk really briefly about the AVIN R&D funds that are available. These funds really are meant to foster partnership and collaboration. They focus on prototypes, technology development, validation of that technology, and demonstration. This is demonstration of actual products and services showcased in the field. It could be at events, on the road, or at a customer site. What we're funding is the technology development of those technologies. They have to start at a minimum of a TRL level 3, but we'll fund the activity to get them to a TRL 7. So what that means is starting at proof of concept, taking them through to a functional demonstration in an operational environment. One of the key aspects of the program is that it has to be driven by market or commercial pull. Roy briefly mentioned that in his talk. And the importance of that is we're not just doing research for the sake of pure research. We're helping companies move their technologies along where there is evidence of market commercial pull for that technology. And that's kind of where the municipalities come in. There are several ongoing projects with municipalities right now, because oftentimes in this space, it's the municipality that is the commercial pull in the market for these technologies. In terms of the applicant, they have to be for-profit SMEs in Ontario with less than 500 employees. The partner can be pretty much anyone as long as it's a real market channel for the company and it's somewhat significant. So again, it could be municipalities, it could even be not-for-profits, and the partner could be anywhere in the globe. It doesn't have to be in Ontario. But as long as it's a customer for that particular technology company. However, the catch is the funding can only go towards activities carried out in Ontario. So if the partner is outside of Ontario, whatever associated activities and costs that are occurring outside of Ontario are not eligible for the grant funding. All of the budget items must be cash with proof of payment. So it has to be real expenses, and we will pay for internal spend, internal staffing, as well as external costs in terms including subcontracting and the like. And again, as mentioned, there must be at least 2 participants per project. However, there can be more. We require an applicant and what we call a primary partner, and that's the market puller. But you can have multiple secondary partners involved that are doing project integration and working with the applicant. In terms of the funding, we have Stream 1 and the Stream 2. In Stream 1, projects can go up to a year. We pay 33% of the budget, and we cap out at $100,000 on Stream 1. These applications can be applied for at any time. It's a rolling intake, and there's no deadlines. On stream 2, projects can be up to 2 years. Again, we pay 33% of the budget, and we cap out at $1 million. So to be getting $1 million from OCE, you'd have a $3 million plus budget in project. On the stream 2s, we do 2 calls a year, the spring and the fall. Due to COVID this year, the spring intake was pushed back, and it's actually next week, a week from today. July 21st is the next EOI call. And with stream 2s, the end objective is, as I mentioned, a TRL 7 demonstration, and that demonstration must be in Ontario. So just a few stats on the program. We've been running this since 2017, November 2017, and to date we have funded 43 AV&D partnership projects. We've funded 15 stream 1s and 28 stream 2s. And we've also funded 73 Talent Edge projects. Now, what Talent Edge is an opportunity for companies in this space, in the smart mobility space, that need to hire on research and development staff, tech dev staff. They can come to us and get some hiring support funding as well. So I wanted to close off with a few examples of some projects that I've personally been involved in with municipalities. Obviously, the visual defense project, I'm not going to go into a lot of detail because that's what the webinar will continue on to talk about. Another project that was interesting was a company called Xmatic in the City of Toronto. Xmatic has an aftermarket autonomous vehicle add-on kit that really can be used for any vehicle. I actually went for a drive in a 2012 Honda Civic with these guys that they had strapped the equipment onto as it drove me around. It was pretty interesting. And so the City of Toronto was interested in putting that technology on their fleet vehicles. Another interesting project that's about to launch is a smart cone company technologies in the town of Whitby and Durham Region Transit. They're looking at putting an autonomous shuttle service in the town of Whitby coming soon. And lastly, a municipal related project I thought I'd highlight was eCamion and the Oshawa Power Utilities. And so what they're doing is eCamion is a battery company, and they have developed a autonomous robot to autonomously charge autonomous vehicles. So the vehicle drives itself into the charging station, and then the charging station charges the vehicle without any human interaction. And so the power utilities are at the table in terms of infrastructure to EVs and AVs. So I thought I'd keep it short. That's my brief conversation, and I'm looking forward to the questions.
Okay, thanks, Dan. We're gonna shift now and look at what the application looks like in the real world. And as I said at the outset, we have 2 people joining us with municipal experience. Meeta Gandhi is with the City of Richmond Hill, and she's going to lead us off before we turn it over to Alice Lamb from the City of Markham. So Meeta, by all means, feel free to proceed.
Thank you very much. Thank you for this opportunity. I really appreciated the insights that have been provided so far. I'm really going to focus a little bit about the culture of innovation and then describe with a little bit more detail some of the findings that we had and the opportunities that we discovered with working with visual defense. Building a culture of innovation in an organization is something that's very much an incremental approach. People often ask me, how do you describe innovation? And in my view, innovation is a new, fancier 2020s term for problem solving. And ultimately, in this case, we're using technology as a means of problem solving. And so building a culture of innovation is very much building an organizational culture of where one really feels safe to identify problems and identify solutions. And so I'm sure a lot of us have heard in various circles of the concept of fail fast. Being able to fail fast in an organization is really critical to doing this. And being able to identify where problems exist is also a really key. So being able to speak up and saying these are the issues that we're seeing. And so from my perspective, something I'm trying to do all the time, where is there an idea that we can Where is there a problem that we can identify as an organization, and where is it that we can identify a solution using technology or even in-house developed ideas. So in Richmond Hill, I would suggest that this is very much a work in progress. I find, in fact, COVID has elevated the need to be innovative. I'm sure we've all experienced that, and introduced new technologies to digitize processes that were done manually. And so there's a great opportunity here, I think, with COVID to really elevate the conversation around innovation. Some of the challenges associated with building a culture of innovation is our fear, as that's probably the number one piece. What is this? Is this new? Is this really a problem? Along with that, there's this is how we've always done it thinking. I know I've been in, when I've gone into new organizations, that is a constant. Particularly in government organizations, I worked for the federal government for 20 years before I came to municipality, and that this is the way we've always done it. Think is common. I'm sure it's common in other sectors as well, but it's something that I pay attention to. There is also in some organizations a lack of a fail fast mentality, that it's okay to fail. I think that you have to have a place where it's safe to make mistakes. The culture of silos is another challenge in terms of building innovation. In this case, our experience in partnership with Visual Defense was one that involved, for sure, our public works operations team, our legal team, our risk team, economic development, city manager's office, and others. So there's a whole bunch of components involved in anything that is innovation related, and it cannot operate in silos. If you try, it's for sure not going to work. And then we have rules, and of course rules are important, but sometimes they cause a bit of frustration, and they can feel like they get in the way. So it's a matter of figuring out, how do you address the procurement bylaws? How do you address the trade treaties? How do you make sure that we're able to move an idea ahead and be mindful and respectful of the rules that exist? And that's probably for me the biggest challenge, because we could have all kinds of ideas put into place, but without, you need to pay attention and make sure that you're not actively breaking any rules. So breaking addressing the challenges of building this culture of innovation, for me and my experience, has involved a couple of things. Number one, it's demonstrating the benefit, getting a key audience, a senior executive member, or if the member of council is interested in what's going on, really what is the benefit of that innovation and how is it going to support the organization. Acting as an example to the customer. So when I worked in the federal government, I worked with what was then called Public Works and Government Services Canada, and they had what is now known as Innovative Solutions Canada, which is using the government as a first customer. And I really believe in this program and trying to adopt it in Richmond Hill as much as possible. We have problems, and there are companies out there that have solutions that can be mimicked in both the private and the public sector. So I think it's really important. It's our responsibility, I think, as government to provide a marketplace for those types of solutions and be a first customer for companies, so that they can be tested and that they can then have examples from which they can broaden their customer base. So that is, I think, critical. Another component of addressing the challenges is asking why not. We're often asked why, or what are the, let's talk about barriers, but my question is why not? If we try something, really what is the risk associated with it, and is there a reason why we shouldn't try it? The other piece is bridging ideas with implementation. Roy spoke of the work with our public works operations team, and really our connection with Visual Defense started with our public works team, with a manager who really thought outside the box and really thought of how is it that we can bring in Visual Defense. But the bridging piece happened when he contacted our economic development team and said, can you assist in making this relationship come to fruition? And so that's where you break down the silos. You start talking and figuring out from other divisions and departments, where is it that I can leverage the skills and talents so that we can take an idea from concept to reality. And then the other thing that I wanted to point out is innovation is everywhere. And I think we tend to get stuck in analysis paralysis sometimes. We talk about innovation, it's a scary term. It's a scary word, I think, for many. And then we think of, okay, well, we need to develop an innovation agenda or innovation strategy. And what is the starting point? There really is no starting point. It's put your foot in the, your toe in the pool and do it. I think that that's a really important concept. We have to try small. Pilot projects are my favorite things, so that we can actually make some progress. And so that's really important. So speaking about our relationship with visual defense, really it was about, as I mentioned, we had a manager in our public works operations team who really thought outside the box, really found out about the technology, wanted to make this happen, and then brought on our economic development team to assist with some of the components that I've mentioned in terms of some of the challenges. How do you address this from a legal procurement perspective? There are rules around sole sourcing. There's rules around going to a company and providing them with a market specifically. Of course, because Visual Defense is a Richmond Hill company, we really wanted to leverage that as well and support our local companies. And so that was a big key for us. Plus the opportunities that presented itself with the Ontario Centres of Excellence and the approach to funding was, in my view, exceptional. It provided an opportunity for us to bring to the front the idea of the relationship and the partnership with Visual Defense. And so we then put the project into place. And in doing so, some of our early data from October 1st to December 31st last year, just with one device in our pothole, the device picked up 219 potholes on all roads, so that's regional and municipal. So compared to our city vehicles, that was fairly significant. Our city vehicles, for multiple vehicles, picked up during that same time 104 potholes. So it's remarkable the scale that can be developed with this technology. The other thing that is important to note is that potholes were identified that were not visually by the eye identified by the city vehicles. And so we were able to look at potholes or identify potholes that were maybe not as in drastic state of repair, but they were early cues to potholes that we needed to address. And also, because now that we have data with other upper tier municipalities on our regional roads, there's an opportunity to build a partnership there and exchange the data. So that's sort of some of the data and the numbers that speak to the opportunities that are ahead of us. We also had meetings with Roy and our bylaw staff around how to use the technology in other areas. I haven't lost sight of that, because I think that once you've brought in an idea, that there are opportunities to diversify and use the same technology in other settings. And AI is something that I think can go a really long way in the municipal sphere. So that is my overview of innovation in Richmond Hill and our experience in working with visual defense. It's been a pleasure. Really, and I think this is just the beginning. I think that the opportunities ahead are significant.
Okay, I'm sure we'll circle back to this idea of innovation in the public or the government realm when we get to the Q&A. I would invite people who are attending, if you do have questions, the chat module is one way to post those questions to the panel. Conversely, the Q&A module that you see there is the other way. Finally, we're going to turn to Alice Lamb, who's with the City of Markham, to also provide us with a bit of an experience here. So Thanks, Allison. There we go. All right,
Okay.
Allison, the floor is
You
yours.
guys hear me?
Yep.
Okay. So first of all, I want to thank OGLA for having us participate in this webinar for innovating road maintenance through AI and collaboration. Road maintenance is an ongoing challenge because many municipalities is experiencing growth, and with growth, it comes with our road network also growing. But there's a financial challenge as well that we have to manage our budget, but then we're experiencing growth. So how can we do more with less? So here comes technology is a great help to road maintenance. So in City of Markham, we are trying with different technology to be innovative, and some technology may not be as mature, but what does it hurt for us to try? So a lot of when visual defense and come to Markham and saying about this technology, one of saying with echoing Richmond Hill is why not? And first we have a meeting, and we see a lot of application, and I want to set up the page mainly that our road maintenance is surround around minimum maintenance standard, Ontario regulation through 23902. So I don't know, a lot of the audience is probably from municipal sector. So the minimum maintenance standard is our Bible. So a lot of our year-round maintenance is surrounding, and our standard and our guideline is being set surrounding the minimum maintenance standard. So in the MMS, there's definition about paved surface and also for pothole. Pothole mean a hole in the surface of the roadway caused by any mean, including wear of the pavement layer. So further in the act, it also talked about the size of the pothole and cracking, and also the expectation of when it's being repaired. And in another section of the minimum maintenance standard, I also talked about the maintenance standard for patrolling. So most of our municipal partners, similar to City of Markham, we set up our patrolling frequency based on MMS. So based on the class of road, so the class of road is set by the volume of the road that's being carried. So different road will have different patrolling frequency. And another things that regarding to road maintenance in a bigger scale is pavement management. So for pothole is the daily maintenance activity that we are carrying out. And in an annual program, City of Markham, we carry approximate 2,200 length kilometer of paved asphalt road. So like what I said earlier, Markham is experiencing a lot of growth in the last 10 to 30 years. So our network continue to expand as we recognize growth. And in terms of the pavement management, now we have many different age of road assets that we have to manage. And there's a recent legislation, Asset Management Ontario Regulation 588/17. This one particular talks about how a municipality should manage our assets. Road is one of the core assets in this legislation. So how do we use less with less resource but manage more? So it's in Markham, we very focused on economics, sustainability, and environmental. So we have a program for annually for road preservation and road rehabilitation. Our strategy is to apply the right technique at the right time to the right location. By doing so is to extend the road life and also reduce the overall cost of ownership. What it means is if there's a pothole, we repair it in a timely manner to prevent water going into the roadbed. Because if we don't maintain the road in a timely manner, over time, a simple shave and pave is not going to solve the problem. Then we're probably looking into complete road reconstruction. So that's the strategy that in City of Markham we adapt. So that's why when visual defense approach us, and we see this collaboration opportunity, we very quick, we say, yeah, sure, let's explore and let's see what we can do. And of course, pilot project and collaboration project, it comes with challenge as well. But we see it as a win-win opportunity for the road operation, public work industry, and the AI industry. A lot of the things that when we go through the software implementation, there's a lot of interaction involvement. But The reason I captured that patrol frequency in my first slide is to explain the collaboration effort. Visual defense, the AI technology, actually need to see many different situations, different conditions of the road to train the technology so that the technology can recognize, like what Roy earlier mentioned, is the positive reinforcement and the feedback. So for us, municipality, we have our patrol, we have our road operation operator kind of patrolling our road network based on that frequency. So it's a perfect match. So basically, entering into this collaboration, we are mounting the cell phone device with the software and the camera looking at the road. Then over time, that is collecting data with many different kilometers of road and many different situations. And when we come back, our staff is able to log onto a web base. Then we look into different situations, because once you pass by a pothole, it's going to capture a photo with that pothole and then also the GPS location. Then in a couple of days, we are able to look at the information. Then we can respond back saying that, oh, this is not a pothole, this is actually a shadow cast by a tree, or this is indeed a pothole or a crack. So over all this interaction, we see a lot of improvement through the AI technology, how it actually matured over a short period of time. Recently, we looked into the software. The software already recognized what is a shadow and what is a pothole. But all this result cannot be achieved without partnership, without collaboration. So say if we decide not to participate in this collaboration, then they will not be able to collect such a big data to assess the situation. So we see it as a win-win collaboration. And at first, I was afraid about our staff, how they are adapting to innovation with a new software. But surprisingly, they are very enjoying this software because it helped them to schedule the work and help us to record with photo and GPS location. Without the software, I think a lot of the municipality are probably recording your pothole or your patrol data through pen and paper or patrol program. And all of these type of patrol program, you actually need to interactive and enter the information or park the car and mark down the location. So there's a lot of human error could generate. But then having a mature technology or future technology like this, it's kind of like having another operator sitting on the passenger side, particularly working on a pothole in recording that. And that allow our patroller to focus on other tasks. You guys may share the same experience like I do. When the patroller is patrolling, they're not only looking at pothole, they're looking at many different aspects of the road situation for road maintenance, such as roadkill, street sign, pavement marking, any kind of storm situation in catch basin flooding area. So a road operator has a lot of tasks on hand. Having this technology actually help them to focus on other more emergency issue, and then also eliminate that human error. And when we come back in the implementation part, we're able to extract all the location. And it also show that because if you pass by the same road 5 times a week, it actually show that it's duplicating. The same pothole is going to show up. But then it recognizes, and we're able to streamline all this location and then schedule our work. Now we're able to bring our hot box to a list of location and schedule the work in all that one day to have proactive repair. Instead of like trying to look at pen and paper, a patroller write down 500 meters southeast of this intersection. But from time to time, it could be actually, it is hard for our repair team to find the pothole. But with the exact GPS location, it actually helped us to have a faster, more efficient and effective repair. And what I touch on pavement management is proactive repair actually result in long-term saving, because just like your shingles, if you repair quick, you're going to prevent long-term issue with your structure. So we're preventing the water from getting in, and there's so many potholes a municipality can experience in the summer. It also tied into our winter condition, right? If you experience more free fall cycle, you're going to have more pothole. So having this technique and this unit actually help us to make a timely repair and meet MMS standard while maintaining our pavement integrity. Some of the future innovative pilot that the City of Markham is exploring or in trial as continue to work with visual defense to expand in other area of detection, like the other panelist has mentioned. And you guys probably heard about a lot of the sidewalk robotic inspection and snow removal. Same in Markham, we heard a lot of that, and I attend some webinar about that too. So right now we're at the beginning of trial sidewalk robotic inspection. It's at the beginning phase, so we do not have result or evaluation as of yet, but we're interested to find out how that will turn out. And the other aspect that we are in exploration to see if any fruitful result is the sidewalk robotic snow removal. This is one thing that I think coming up a lot in the last year that we would like to look into. Is it the right application and where it should be applied? Is it within the right-of-way sidewalk, or is more for off right-of-way trail pathway, or within community center in the parking lot? So there's a lot of innovation opportunity because we're in the new era that with limited budget, with expanding, that we have to look for other tools to help us. And of course, with the collaboration, it comes with challenge. And with particular for the sidewalk, particular for the pothole collaboration detection with visual defense, one would ask is about the privacy. That are we having a camera in collecting privacy information? So through collaboration and open discussion and working with visual defense, we're able to blur the information out and not collecting that. So a lot of challenge may throw at us with new technology, but with open mind and with collaboration, I believe that we can overcome that. So thank you.
Thank you, Alice. So we've covered a lot of ground here. We've talked about sort of the technology. Dan's been able to give us a bit of an overview of where the sector's at and how the government, the provincial government in particular, is supporting the development and adaptation of, or adoption rather, of some of these technologies, and we've had some real-world examples. Let's start at a really macro. Mita talked about this idea of innovation and government as innovators, fail fast, taking a more or a less risk-adverse approach to problem solving. In your experience, and I'm looking specifically at Alice and Mita for this, how have you been able to sell the benefits of a technology like this when oftentimes I think technological solutions are viewed by decision makers in local governments as being expensive, complicated, unknown? What are the ingredients to the recipe that allows a municipality the leeway or the ability to experiment with a technology like this?
I can start, and then Alice, if you want to chime in. For me, it's sometimes about numbers and saying, you know, for example, our potholes are detected through a number of sources currently. Before we started using this technology, it still is in place where we have road vehicles that are detecting potholes visually. Plus, we have complaints that come in through our Access Richmond Hill contact center. When you start to add up the person hours that it takes and the amount of time that it takes to gather that data, and then you compare it against the potential of pothole detection within the system, the numbers don't lie. And so being able to present that to executive level members is really key. Once you have the senior executive buy-in, then selling it to the rest of the organization is a little bit easier. And so that's one of the things. In this case, it was also ease of technology in use. So it wasn't terribly complicated. And so it was easy to describe, it was easy to install, it was easy to use. And so that helps in terms of getting the buy-in. I'm not bringing in multi-million-dollar computer systems and back in my day, mainframes, you know, those types of things that people think of when they think of innovation and technology. This is, you know, pull out a phone and there you go, there it is. So making it relatable, being able to tell your story and being able to use numbers to back the story up, from my perspective, have been useful strategies in getting decision makers to agree that we move on.
Alice, did you want to add to that?
So, sure. Similar to Richmond Hill, in City of Markham, we are very innovative driven. So we know that innovation and technology is the way to go in the future. So for Markham, it starts with our leader. So with our leader, a strong support and believer in technology. So it definitely helped us in the implementation. And we also happen that the technology, the digital, it matched with our business plan for the next 4 years. So it definitely helped me with the business case. And the other thing is, like Mita has mentioned, is the data, the business case in assessing the risk. So a lot of the time that a lot of people is afraid to enter into a new world is because of the risk or the cost. So in this technology, after understanding with Roy, is web-based, it's not touching into your server. So it's definitely easy sell for us to give it a try. So a lot of risk assessment and data collection and the cost analysis will definitely help. And long term, sometimes you cannot look at the capital cost in right away and how much it costs to implement. You also have to look into long-term saving. So that will definitely help your business case.
Okay, OCE's currency is innovation to a large extent, Dan. And I know during your presentation, one of the intakes involves local governments. Do the dynamics that Alice and Mita characterize for their particular communities align with what you're seeing during your work with municipalities?
Yeah, I think as with anything, there's a huge spectrum from the very risk averse to the cutting edge, very innovative, and different municipalities are on that spectrum somewhere. We work with municipalities an awful lot. I just showed a very, very high level brief sampling of what we're doing, but there are literally dozens and dozens of other municipalities involved in other projects that we're working on that are very innovative and cutting edge. At OCE, we have been working in this demonstration mode for some time. When we were founded 32 years ago, we were about industry academic collaboration, which was connecting companies into universities and colleges and helping to fund research and development that these companies needed through the expertise in Ontario's educational system. That's still one of the pillars at OCE. But in more recent years, I'd say the last 4 or 5 years, we've moved towards more and more examples of demonstration type projects. We've had programs in healthcare. We've had programs in greenhouse gas emissions. We've had programs in AI, and currently we have programs in 5G and also the Internet of Things. And what they all have in common is we are funding companies to bring their technology to the market in partnership, and that's the key. And so if you can convince a customer, and again, that customer cannot be another startup. It cannot be like a mom and pop shop. It's got to be something significant to provide real evidence of market pull. And if you can convince a customer to give you a shot with your technology, then chances are the technology is much more real. And so when we fund a demonstration project, we have much more confidence because there's more than one company at the table. And so this is something that we've been doing for several years now, are these demonstration type projects. And I would encourage municipalities to think of themselves as test cities, because many of these technology companies their market is the municipality. It's government, it's municipalities, and that's a sector that they have to go after. And if you can be more open-minded and more open-ended in terms of your willingness to take a look at some of these innovative technologies and work with these companies, it's to the betterment of everybody. And Mita said that because this was a Richmond Hill company, she was much more willing to participate. And that's the kind of thinking we should all be taking. Really, the champions of this sort of thing come out of economic development, because it's their role to foster their local cities and their local municipalities, and to help the companies out in those areas. And so oftentimes the champion of these projects comes out of economic development. And so for companies, any companies that are tuned in here listening to this conversation, I would highly recommend that you reach out to the economic development officers and departments of your municipality to start a conversation to see where that can take you. But oftentimes they're the ones that are leading the charge in these things and making the introductions to the transportation department and so on. So yeah, this is something that I think is extremely important. OCE believes it's extremely important, and we're very much see the value in that first customer and in changing the way procurement is done across the province.
Okay, the clock is really working against us here. There's a whole series of questions that specifically are in relation to ROVER. So I think what we'll do is we'll make a quick pivot to the speed round here and throw all these questions to Roy.
Sure.
There's questions around geography. Are communities, rural communities, or communities that are stretched for broadband access able to use this technology?
That is a great question. So the answer is yes. We have a 400-kilometer stretch of roads that's being covered right now by ROVER that's in a very rural area with very bad connectivity. And our technology actually queues everything up in the phone, because the phone has a memory as well. So it just stores everything locally until it has a good connectivity and then uploads it. So no issue, and it's great for rural areas.
Okay, does the system, is it able to detect measurements? The minimum maintenance standard actually has dimensions in some of the descriptions of deficiencies.
Yeah, so when the phone is calibrated, we can estimate the surface area, and we can also estimate whether it's, for example, greater than 8 centimeters or less than 8 centimeters, which it will never be the same as a laser scanner or a person getting out of the car and measuring with the tape, but it gives you an indication of if this is something that should be handled right away, or this is something that we can wait with a little bit and do as part of a blitz.
All right, perpetual thorn in the side of everyone with responsibility for road maintenance, utility cuts. Are you able to detect utility cuts?
We've been asked to do that. It's something that is on our to-do list. So not today, but it is something we're looking at.
And then parked cars, how do you deal with those?
Yeah, parked cars is again, it's something. So there's the easy stuff, which is just to picking something that is right there, like the pothole, and then there's the more complicated aspects where you have to kind of figure out which road segment it's on and the parking regulations for this. So those are things that we're working on, but those would be more mid to long-term versus detection, when you have to kind of correlate some rules to this as well.
Okay, and the last one, because we're really down to the Hail Mary time here. Road allowance, are you able to scan the entire road allowance?
So it really depends on the vehicle. We do between 2 to 3 lanes, and that really depends on the height of the vehicle and the angle of the camera, because there are different trucks that are being used for road patrols.
Okay, so it is now 12:01. I promised to get people out of here at 12, but I've come up short. There are still probably another 10, 15 questions we could have got through. But in the name of expediency, we need to wrap things up here. So I want to thank each of you, Dan, Alice, Roy, Mita, for taking your time to share this. I believe this is being recorded and it'll be distributed or posted rather on OGRA's various internet channels. Again, thank you. Wish everybody the best of health and stay safe, and we'll be in touch soon. Bye-bye for now.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.